before we dive into these ancient secrets that have shaped reality for thousands of years, I'm curious, what time is it where you're watching from right now? And where in the world are you? I ask because time and location are about to become incredibly significant as we explore these universal laws together. Because whether it's 3 a.m. in New York or noon in Mumbai, whether you're in a bustling city or quiet countryside, these 7 Hermetic principles are operating in your life right now, shaping every moment of your existence in ways you've probably never imagined. You see, most people go through their entire lives completely unaware that there are ancient, immutable laws governing every aspect of reality, laws that were discovered thousands of years ago by the mysterious figure known as Hermes Trismegistus, the thrice great Hermes, who was said to be both a man and a god, a master of all wisdom who understood the very fabric of existence itself. But here's what they don't want you to know. These aren't just philosophical concepts or mystical theories. These are operating principles that control everything from your thoughts and emotions to your relationships, your financial situation, your health, and even your spiritual evolution. The ancient Egyptians knew this, the mystery schools of Greece understood this, and the alchemists of medieval Europe guarded these secrets with their very lives. Because whoever truly comprehends and applies these 7 laws doesn't just understand reality, they become a conscious creator of it. Think about it for a moment. What if I told you that every single experience you've ever had, every success, every failure, every moment of joy or pain, has been the direct result of these universal principles working through your consciousness? What if everything you thought was random or coincidental was actually following precise, mathematical laws that you can learn to work with instead of against? The truth is, most people are like leaves blown by the wind, completely at the mercy of forces they don't understand, reacting to life instead of creating it. But those who understand these Hermetic laws, they become the wind itself. They become the architects of their own destiny, the masters of their own reality, the conscious directors of their life experience. And today, I'm going to share with you not just what these 7 laws are, but how they work, why they work, and most importantly, how you can begin applying them immediately to transform every area of your existence. But I have to warn you, once you truly understand these principles, once you see how they've been operating in your life all along, you can never go back to unconscious living. You'll start to see the matrix of reality itself, the underlying code that runs the universe, and with that knowledge comes both incredible power and incredible responsibility. The first law we must explore is the law of mentalism, and this is perhaps the most fundamental principle of all existence. The all is mind, the universe is mental. Now, what does this really mean? Most people think they understand this concept. They'll nod their heads and say, "Oh yes, thoughts create reality," but they're barely scratching the surface of something so profound it will completely revolutionize how you see everything around you. You see, this law isn't saying that mind influences matter. It's saying that everything is mind, that what we call physical reality is actually a mental construct, a thought form in the infinite mind of the all, which is the ultimate source of all existence. Imagine for a moment that you're having a vivid dream. In that dream, you experience solid walls, flowing water, other people, complex emotions, pain, pleasure. Everything seems absolutely real while you're experiencing it. But when you wake up, you realize that everything in that dream, including your dream body and the entire dream world, was actually mental phenomena occurring in your mind. The Hermetic teaching suggests that our waking reality operates on exactly the same principle, but on a cosmic scale. We are thoughts in the mind of the all, experiencing ourselves as separate beings in a physical universe that is actually a magnificent mental creation. This isn't just philosophical speculation. This is the foundation of all magical and metaphysical work. When you truly understand that everything is mental in nature, you begin to realize that changing your mental state can literally change your reality, because your mind is connected to and participates in the universal mind. This is why affirmations work, why visualization creates results, why belief systems shape experience, not because mind influences matter, but because mind is matter at its deepest level. The ancient Egyptians knew this. They understood that the gods they worked with weren't separate beings out there somewhere, but rather aspects of universal consciousness that they could connect with and embody through their own mental alignment. The Kabbalists expressed this through their understanding of the Tree of Life, showing how different levels of consciousness create different levels of reality. Even modern quantum physics is beginning to catch up with this ancient wisdom, discovering that consciousness and matter are inseparably linked at the subatomic level, that the observer affects the observed in fundamental ways. But here's where it gets really practical for your daily life. If everything is mental, then every limitation you experience is actually a mental limitation. Every problem you face is a mental construction that can be redesigned. Every goal you want to achieve already exists in potential within the universal mind and can be accessed through proper mental alignment. This means that changing your habitual thought patterns, your belief systems, your mental focus and attention, isn't just positive thinking. It's literally restructuring the fundamental building blocks of your reality experience. When you wake up in the morning and choose to focus on gratitude instead of worry, you're not just changing your mood, you're aligning your individual mind with positive aspects of the universal mind and thereby attracting corresponding experiences into your life. When you visualize your goals with emotional intensity and unwavering faith, you're not just daydreaming. You're impressing the universal mind with a clear template of what you want to experience, and that mind will orchestrate circumstances, people, and opportunities to manifest that template in your physical experience. This is why every great teacher throughout history has emphasized the importance of controlling your thoughts and emotions, not for moral reasons, but because thoughts and emotions are the tools by which you create your reality. The person who has mastered the law of mentalism understands that they are not a victim of circumstances, but the creator of circumstances. They know that external events are simply reflections of internal states, and therefore by changing their internal world, they automatically begin changing their external world. The second principle that governs all existence is the law of correspondence, as above, so below, as below, so above. This is perhaps one of the most practical and immediately applicable of all the Hermetic laws, because it gives you a master key to understanding absolutely everything in your life by showing you the hidden connections that exist between all levels of reality. You see, the ancient Hermetic philosophers discovered that the universe is structured like a vast series of mirrors, where patterns repeat themselves at every level of existence. What happens in the cosmic realm is reflected in the earthly realm. What occurs in the spiritual dimension manifests in the physical dimension. What takes place in your mind shows up in your body. What exists in your inner world creates your outer world. This isn't just poetic metaphor. This is a precise law that you can use to decode the mysteries of your own existence and consciously create the changes you desire. Think about this for a moment. Your body is constantly reflecting the state of your mind and emotions. When you're stressed mentally, your muscles become tense physically. When you're emotionally depressed, your posture becomes depressed. When you're angry inside, your face shows anger outside. When you're filled with love and joy internally, your entire being radiates that love and joy externally. This is the law of correspondence in action, as above in consciousness, so below in physical expression. But it goes so much deeper than this. Your external life circumstances are a perfect mirror of your internal consciousness patterns. The people you attract into your life correspond to aspects of your own psyche. Your friends reflect your conscious self-image. Your enemies reflect your shadow aspects. Your romantic partners reflect your relationship with your own masculine or feminine nature. Your children reflect your creative potential and your connection to innocence and wonder. Your financial situation corresponds to your internal sense of self-worth and your beliefs about abundance and scarcity. Your health corresponds to your emotional well-being and your level of life force energy. Your living environment corresponds to your mental state. Cluttered surroundings reflect a cluttered mind. Beautiful surroundings reflect an appreciation for beauty within yourself. Chaotic environments reflect internal chaos. peaceful spaces reflect inner peace. Even the timing of events in your life corresponds to your internal readiness for growth and change. That coincidental meeting with someone who changes your life forever happens precisely when your consciousness is ready to receive what they have to offer. That unexpected opportunity appears exactly when you've developed the internal capacity to handle it. That challenging situation arises just when you need to learn the lesson it contains. The master of the law of correspondence learns to read the book of their own life like a sacred text, understanding that every external event, every person they encounter, every situation they find themselves in, is actually a message from their own higher consciousness, showing them something important about their internal state and their spiritual development. This gives you incredible power, because instead of feeling like a victim of random external forces, you begin to understand that you are in constant communication with the universe through the language of correspondence. When something appears in your outer world that you don't like, instead of trying to fight it externally, you can look within to see what internal pattern or belief is creating that external reflection, and by changing the inner cause, you automatically begin to change the outer effect. If you're experiencing financial struggles, instead of just working harder for money, you examine your internal beliefs about your own worth, your relationship with abundance, your fears about security, and you heal those internal patterns. The external financial situation then begins to improve naturally because you've addressed the real cause. If you're having relationship problems, instead of just trying to change your partner, you look within to see what aspects of yourself are being mirrored through the relationship conflict, and by healing those internal aspects, the relationship either transforms or naturally dissolves to make way for something more aligned with your evolved consciousness. This law also works in reverse, as below, so above, which means that by consciously changing your external behavior, you can create corresponding internal changes. When you stand with confident posture, you begin to feel more confident internally. When you organize your external environment, you create more internal clarity. When you surround yourself with beauty, you awaken the beauty within your own consciousness. When you act with kindness toward others, you develop more kindness toward yourself. The ancient mystery schools understood this principle deeply. Their temples were designed as physical representations of cosmic principles. Their rituals were external actions that created internal transformations. Their sacred geometry was a way of aligning earthly structures with heavenly patterns. Even today, the most effective personal development practices are based on this law. Meditation creates external peace by cultivating internal stillness. Exercise creates mental clarity by moving energy through the physical body. Journaling creates life clarity by organizing internal thoughts on external paper. Affirmations create external success by repeatedly impressing positive patterns on internal consciousness. Now we come to the third universal principle, the law of vibration. Nothing rests, everything moves, everything vibrates. This law reveals one of the most fundamental secrets of existence, that what we perceive as solid, static reality is actually a universe in constant motion, where every single thing, from the densest matter to the most refined spiritual energy, is vibrating at its own unique frequency. And here's the revolutionary part. By understanding and consciously working with vibration, you can literally tune into any frequency of experience you desire, just like tuning a radio to receive different stations. The ancient masters knew this secret. They understood that thoughts are vibrations, emotions are vibrations, physical objects are vibrations, even time and space are vibrations, and whoever learns to control their personal vibration becomes a master of their reality experience. But most people are completely unconscious of their vibrational state. They let random thoughts, external circumstances, other people's moods, news media, social conditioning, and past conditioning determine their vibration, which means they're constantly broadcasting mixed, chaotic, or negative frequencies and then wondering why their life seems chaotic, negative, or out of control. Think about this scientifically for a moment. Modern physics has confirmed what the Hermeticists taught thousands of years ago, that all matter is energy in motion. that atoms are mostly empty space with electrons spinning around nuclei at incredible speeds, that even the most solid-seeming objects are actually vast spaces of vibrating energy patterns. But this isn't just a physical phenomenon. Consciousness itself operates on vibrational principles. When you're feeling love, gratitude, joy, or peace, your entire being is vibrating at a high frequency that naturally attracts experiences that match those positive vibrations. When you're stuck in fear, anger, resentment, or despair, your being is vibrating at a lower frequency that attracts experiences matching those negative vibrations. This is why people often say that like attracts like. It's not just a metaphor, it's a precise description of how vibrational law operates. Every emotion has its own vibrational signature. Love vibrates at approximately 500 Hz on Drive David Hawkins' consciousness scale, while fear vibrates around 100 Hz and shame around 20 Hz. Every thought pattern has its vibrational frequency. Thoughts of abundance, possibility, and gratitude vibrate much higher than thoughts of scarcity, limitation, and complaint. Every belief system carries its own vibrational blueprint. Empowering beliefs create high-frequency vibrations that attract empowering experiences, while limiting beliefs create low-frequency vibrations that attract limiting experiences. Even words carry vibration. Words of encouragement, appreciation, and love carry healing frequencies that can literally change the molecular structure of water and influence the health of living organisms, while words of criticism, hatred, and negativity carry destructive frequencies that can harm both the speaker and the listener. The master of vibrational law learns to become incredibly conscious of their internal vibrational state moment by moment throughout the day. They monitor their thoughts like a master musician monitoring the tuning of their instrument. They choose their emotional responses like a DJ choosing which frequencies to broadcast. They select their words like a magician selecting which spells to cast into reality. This requires developing what I call vibrational awareness, the ability to feel your own energetic frequency and consciously adjust it when necessary. When you wake up in the morning, instead of just going through mechanical routines, you consciously tune into high-frequency vibrations through practices like gratitude meditation, uplifting music, positive affirmations, or energizing movement. Throughout the day, you maintain awareness of your vibrational state. When you notice yourself dropping into lower frequencies through worry, irritation, or negative thinking, you have tools ready to consciously raise your vibration, perhaps through conscious breathing, focusing on something you appreciate, repeating empowering mantras, or simply choosing to shift your attention to something more positive. You become selective about what you expose yourself to. You realize that violent movies, negative news, gossip, complaining, and toxic relationships are all lowering your vibration and therefore affecting your ability to attract positive experiences. So you consciously choose to surround yourself with high-frequency influences, inspiring books, uplifting music, positive people, beautiful environments, and empowering content. You also learn to use your body as a vibrational instrument. Physical practices like yoga, dancing, singing, laughing, and deep breathing can instantly shift your energetic frequency because your physical body and your consciousness are vibrationally connected. The ancient Egyptians used specific sounds, chants, and tones in their temple work because they understood that sound is vibration, and vibration is the creative force of the universe. When you chant OM or AUM, you're not just making noise. You're aligning your personal vibration with the fundamental creative vibration of existence itself. The fourth Hermetic principle is the law of polarity. Everything is dual, everything has poles, everything has its pair of opposites. Like and unlike are the same, opposites are identical in nature but different in degree. Extremes meet, all truths are but half-truths, all paradoxes may be reconciled. This law reveals one of the most profound secrets about the nature of reality, that what we perceive as opposites are actually different degrees of the same thing, different points on the same scale, different expressions of the same underlying unity. And when you truly understand this principle, you gain the power to transform any negative situation into its positive opposite, because you realize that they're not separate things, they're simply different vibrations of the same energy. Most people live their lives trapped in dualistic thinking. They believe that hot and cold are completely different things, that love and hate are opposite forces, that success and failure are unrelated experiences, that good and evil are separate powers battling against each other. But the ancient Hermetic wisdom reveals that this is an illusion of perception. Hot and cold are both experiences of temperature. They're the same energy expressing at different degrees of intensity. Love and hate are both intense emotional connections. They're the same passionate energy flowing in different directions. Success and failure are both learning experiences. They're the same life force energy manifesting through different outcomes. Good and evil are both expressions of power. They're the same creative energy being used for different purposes. This understanding gives you incredible freedom and power, because it means you're never truly stuck in any negative condition. Every problem contains the seed of its own solution. Every difficulty is actually an opportunity in disguise. Every limitation is simply a creative challenge waiting to be transformed. Let me give you some practical examples of how this works. If you're experiencing poverty, instead of seeing it as the opposite of wealth, you can recognize that both poverty and wealth are simply different experiences of your relationship with abundance. By shifting your consciousness about abundance, by changing your beliefs about your worthiness to receive, by altering your vibrational frequency around money, you can literally slide along the pole from the poverty end toward the wealth end of the same spectrum. If you're dealing with illness, instead of seeing it as the opposite of health, you can understand that both illness and health are different expressions of life force energy in your body. By addressing the mental, emotional, and spiritual factors that are restricting your life force, by changing your beliefs about your body's natural healing capacity, by raising your vibrational frequency through positive emotions and thoughts, you can shift your position on the health spectrum from dis-ease toward ease and vitality. If you're experiencing loneliness, instead of seeing it as the opposite of love, you can recognize that both loneliness and connection are different experiences of your relationship with love. By healing your internal relationship with yourself, by opening your heart to self-love and self-acceptance, by changing your beliefs about your worthiness to be loved, you can transform the energy of loneliness into the energy of meaningful connection. The key to working with polarity is understanding that transformation happens through the principle of mental transmutation. You don't fight against the negative pole. You don't try to destroy or eliminate it. Instead, you consciously focus on and align with the positive pole of the same spectrum, and your sustained attention and emotional energy naturally moves you in that direction. This is why affirmations work when they're done correctly. When you repeatedly affirm, "I am wealthy," while feeling the emotion of abundance, you're not trying to convince yourself of something false. You're consciously choosing to focus on the wealth pole of the abundance spectrum, and your consistent focus gradually moves your experience in that direction. This is why gratitude is so powerful. When you focus on appreciating what you already have, you're aligning with the abundance pole rather than the scarcity pole of the same spectrum, and abundance naturally begins to increase in your experience. The ancient alchemists understood this principle deeply. They weren't trying to physically turn lead into gold. They were learning to transmute the lead of lower consciousness into the gold of higher consciousness, the lead of negative emotions into the gold of positive emotions, the lead of limited thinking into the gold of expanded awareness. This is the true meaning of alchemy, not changing external substances, but mastering the art of internal transmutation through understanding the polar nature of all experience. The fifth universal law is the law of rhythm. Everything flows, out and in, everything has its tides. All things rise and fall. The pendulum swing manifests in everything. The measure of the swing to the right is the measure of the swing to the left. Rhythm compensates. This principle reveals that absolutely everything in existence moves in cycles, patterns, and rhythmic flows. From the movement of planets around the sun to the beating of your heart, from the rise and fall of civilizations to the ebb and flow of your own emotional states, from the seasons of nature to the seasons of your personal growth and development. Understanding this law gives you the wisdom to work with the natural rhythms of life instead of against them, and the patience to know that every down cycle will inevitably be followed by an up cycle. Every challenging period will give way to a period of ease. Every winter of the soul will bloom into a new spring of possibility. But here's where most people get themselves into trouble. They fight against the natural rhythms instead of flowing with them. They panic during the downswings instead of using them for rest and preparation. They try to maintain constant peak performance instead of honoring the natural cycles of activity and reflection, expansion and contraction, giving and receiving. Think about how this shows up in your daily life. Your energy naturally rises and falls throughout the day. There are times when you feel alert, focused, and productive, and other times when you feel tired, scattered, or uninspired. Instead of pushing through the low energy times or feeling guilty about them, the wise person learns to plan their most important activities during their natural high energy periods and use their low energy times for rest, reflection, planning, or routine tasks. Your emotions follow rhythmic patterns. You might have days when you feel optimistic, confident, and joyful, followed by days when you feel more introspective, sensitive, or contemplative. Instead of judging these natural emotional rhythms or trying to maintain artificial positivity all the time, you can learn to honor each emotional season for what it offers: the high times for taking action and creating, the low times for processing, healing, and gaining deeper wisdom. Your relationships cycle through periods of harmony and tension, closeness and distance, passion and calm. Instead of panicking when things feel less intense or worrying that something is wrong during the quieter periods, you can trust that relationships naturally ebb and flow, and that each phase serves an important purpose in deepening the connection. Your creative inspiration follows rhythmic patterns. Artists, writers, musicians, and inventors all know about the cycles of creative flow and creative drought. Instead of forcing creativity during the fallow periods, the wise creator uses these times for gathering new experiences, learning new skills, and allowing ideas to germinate beneath the surface of consciousness. Your spiritual development moves in spirals and cycles. You'll have periods of rapid growth and expansion, followed by periods of integration and apparent stagnation. Instead of becoming discouraged during the plateau phases, you can understand that these are necessary times for consolidating your gains and preparing for the next level of evolution. Even your life circumstances follow rhythmic patterns. Periods of financial abundance followed by times of financial challenge. Phases of excellent health followed by times when your body needs more attention. Eras of social connection followed by periods of solitude and self-reflection. The key to mastering the law of rhythm is developing what I call rhythmic wisdom, the ability to sense where you are in any particular cycle and adjust your expectations, actions, and responses accordingly. When you're in an upswing, you maximize the opportunities, take bold action, plant seeds for the future, and build momentum for your goals. When you're in a downswing, you practice patience, focus on internal development, clear out what no longer serves you, and prepare for the next upward cycle. You also learn to see the compensation principle at work. The law of rhythm teaches that the measure of the swing to the right is the measure of the swing to the left, which means that the depth of any down cycle actually determines the height of the following up cycle. This means that periods of difficulty, challenge, or apparent loss are actually creating the potential for equal and opposite experiences of ease, success, and gain. The person who has suffered deeply develops the capacity for profound joy. The individual who has experienced great loss learns to appreciate abundance when it returns. The soul that has walked through darkness gains the ability to truly appreciate and share light. This is why some of the most joyful, wise, and compassionate people you'll ever meet are those who have faced and overcome significant challenges. They've learned to work with the law of rhythm rather than against it, and they've discovered that every valley of experience creates the potential for an even higher mountain peak. The ancient mystery schools trained their initiates to understand these cosmic rhythms so they could align their personal lives with the greater cycles of existence. They knew when to plant and when to harvest, when to begin new projects and when to complete old ones, when to seek solitude for inner work and when to engage with community for outer expression. The sixth Hermetic principle is the law of cause and effect. Every cause has its effect. Every effect has its cause. Everything happens according to law. Chance is but a name for law not recognized. There are many planes of causation, but nothing escapes the law. This law reveals that we live in a universe of perfect justice and mathematical precision, where absolutely nothing happens by accident, coincidence, or random chance. Everything that occurs in your life is the direct result of causes that you have set in motion, either consciously or unconsciously, in this lifetime or in previous expressions of your consciousness. And here's the revolutionary part. When you truly understand this principle, you realize that you have been the creator of everything in your life experience up to this point, which means you have the power to consciously create everything in your life experience from this point forward. But most people completely misunderstand how this law operates. They think it only applies to obvious physical causes and effects, like if I touch a hot stove, I'll get burned, or if I don't pay my bills, my electricity will be shut off. But the law of cause and effect operates on multiple levels simultaneously: mental, emotional, spiritual, and karmic, and the most powerful causes are often the invisible ones happening in consciousness. Every thought you think is a cause that will produce effects in your experience. Thoughts of love, gratitude, and abundance create causes that manifest as loving relationships, experiences to be grateful for, and abundant circumstances. Thoughts of fear, resentment, and scarcity create causes that manifest as fearful situations, experiences that trigger resentment, and circumstances of lack. Every emotion you feel is a cause that sends out vibrational signals attracting corresponding experiences. The emotion of joy creates causes that attract joyful experiences. The emotion of anger creates causes that attract conflict and confrontation. The emotion of peace creates causes that attract peaceful circumstances. Every word you speak is a cause that shapes your reality. Words of encouragement and possibility create causes that open doors and create opportunities. Words of criticism and limitation create causes that close doors and create obstacles. Every action you take is a cause that generates consequences. Actions aligned with love, integrity, and service create causes that bring love, trust, and support back to you. Actions motivated by selfishness, dishonesty, or harm create causes that eventually return similar energy to your experience. Every belief you hold is a cause that filters and shapes what you perceive and experience. Empowering beliefs create causes that manifest empowering circumstances. Limiting beliefs create causes that manifest limiting circumstances. Even your unconscious patterns, childhood conditioning, past life karma, and inherited family patterns are causes that continue to create effects in your current life until you become conscious of them and deliberately change them. This is why some people seem to effortlessly attract success, love, and happiness while others struggle despite their best conscious efforts. The successful ones have consciously or unconsciously established internal causes, beliefs, emotions, thoughts, and actions that naturally create successful effects, while those who struggle are often operating from unconscious limiting causes that keep creating limiting effects. The master of the law of cause and effect becomes incredibly conscious of what causes they are setting in motion moment by moment throughout each day. They monitor their thoughts, choosing to focus on what they want to create rather than what they want to avoid. They manage their emotional states, consciously cultivating emotions that align with their desired experiences rather than unconsciously reacting to circumstances. They select their words carefully, understanding that every word is a seed planted in the garden of reality that will eventually bear fruit. They align their actions with their highest values and long-term goals, knowing that every action is either moving them toward their dreams or away from them. They examine and upgrade their belief systems, releasing limiting beliefs that create unwanted effects and adopting empowering beliefs that create desired effects. They also learn to work with the karmic dimension of cause and effect, understanding that some of the effects showing up in their current life may be the result of causes they set in motion in the past, either earlier in this lifetime or in previous lifetimes. Instead of feeling like a victim of these karmic effects, they accept responsibility for having created them and focus on setting new positive causes that will create better effects in the future. They practice forgiveness, not to be nice or spiritual, but because holding resentment creates ongoing negative causes that attract more negative effects, while forgiveness releases those negative causal chains and allows positive new causes to take effect. They serve others and contribute to the greater good, not just to be altruistic, but because service and contribution create positive causes that inevitably return positive effects to their own life experience. The ancient concept of karma is simply the law of cause and effect operating across time and dimensions. As you sow, so shall you reap isn't a moral commandment, it's a description of how the universe actually works. And the beautiful thing is that no matter what effects you're experiencing in your life right now as a result of past causes, you can always begin setting new causes today that will create the effects you truly want to experience tomorrow. The seventh and final Hermetic law is the law of gender. Gender is in everything. Everything has its masculine and feminine principles. Gender manifests on all planes. This principle reveals that the creative force of the universe expresses through two complementary aspects that exist within every single thing in existence, not just biological gender in humans and animals, but masculine and feminine principles that operate at every level of reality: physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual. The masculine principle represents the active, initiating, projecting, focused, analytical, goal-oriented aspect of creative force, while the feminine principle represents the receptive, nurturing, intuitive, flowing, synthesizing, being-oriented aspect of creative force. And here's the key to understanding this law. True creation only happens through the dynamic interaction and perfect balance of both principles working together in harmony. But our modern culture has created a massive imbalance by overvaluing masculine principles while devaluing feminine principles, which is why so many people feel burned out, disconnected, and unfulfilled despite achieving external success. Think about how this shows up in your own consciousness and life experience. Your masculine aspect is the part of you that sets goals, makes plans, takes action, analyzes problems, focuses on results, pushes forward despite obstacles, and creates structure and order in your life. Your feminine aspect is the part of you that receives inspiration, trusts intuition, goes with the flow, nurtures relationships, appreciates beauty, connects with emotions, and creates meaning and fulfillment in your life. When these two aspects are balanced and working together, you become incredibly powerful and effective. Your masculine side sets clear intentions and takes inspired action, while your feminine side attracts the right opportunities and people to support those intentions. Your masculine side provides direction and focus, while your feminine side provides creativity and flow. Your masculine side analyzes and strategizes, while your feminine side synthesizes and intuits the deeper patterns. But when these aspects are out of balance, your life becomes either overly aggressive and burnout prone, excessive masculine, or passive and ineffective, excessive feminine. The person with too much masculine energy and not enough feminine energy becomes a workaholic who achieves external success but loses connection with their heart, their relationships, their creativity, and their sense of meaning and purpose. They keep pushing harder and harder but never feel satisfied because they've lost touch with the feminine principle of receptivity and being that actually creates fulfillment. The person with too much feminine energy and not enough masculine energy becomes a dreamer who has beautiful visions and deep feelings but never manifests them into reality. They're always waiting for the right moment or the perfect opportunity but never develop the masculine principle of focused action that turns dreams into tangible results. The master of the law of gender learns to consciously cultivate and balance both aspects within themselves. They develop their masculine capacity for clear goal setting, strategic planning, focused action, and persistent follow-through, while simultaneously honoring their feminine capacity for intuitive guidance, creative inspiration, emotional intelligence, and receptive flow. In practical terms, this means learning when to push forward with masculine energy and when to surrender and allow with feminine energy, when to analyze and strategize versus when to trust your gut feeling and go with the flow, when to take charge and lead versus when to collaborate and receive input from others, when to focus intensely on a single goal versus when to remain open to unexpected opportunities and possibilities. This also applies to how you work with manifestation and goal achievement. The masculine approach would be to set a specific goal, create a detailed plan, and work that plan with disciplined action until you achieve the desired result. The feminine approach would be to clarify your desired feeling and intention, then remain open and receptive to how the universe wants to deliver that experience to you, following inspiration and synchronicity rather than rigid planning. The most powerful manifestors learn to combine both approaches. They use masculine energy to get clear about what they want and why they want it. Then they use feminine energy to release attachment to exactly how it should happen and remain open to receiving it in the best possible way. They set intentions with masculine clarity and take inspired action with masculine focus, while also practicing feminine surrender and trusting the perfect timing of universal orchestration. In relationships, understanding this law helps you appreciate that healthy partnerships require both partners to have access to both their masculine and feminine energies, and that the most magnetic relationships often involve a natural polarity where one partner expresses more masculine energy while the other expresses more feminine energy in different situations and contexts. In creative work, you need masculine energy to provide structure, deadlines, and focused effort, combined with feminine energy to provide inspiration, flow, and receptive openness to new ideas. In spiritual development, you need masculine discipline for consistent practices like meditation and study, combined with feminine surrender and openness for receiving guidance, wisdom, and grace. The ancient mystery schools understood this principle deeply. Their temples and rituals were designed to honor and integrate both masculine and feminine aspects of the divine. Their training included developing both analytical and intuitive capacities, and their highest teachings revealed that enlightenment comes through the sacred marriage of these complementary forces within individual consciousness. As we come to the end of our exploration together, I want you to know that this is really just the beginning of your journey with these profound teachings. The 7 Hermetic Laws are not something you learn once and then forget, but rather principles you continue to deepen and refine throughout your entire life as you apply them to ever more subtle levels of existence and consciousness. Each time you revisit these teachings, you'll discover new layers of meaning and practical application that weren't visible to you before, because your own consciousness will have evolved to a place where it can perceive and work with more advanced aspects of universal law. The ancient masters understood that wisdom is not just intellectual knowledge, but lived experience integrated into every aspect of being. So I encourage you to take these principles and begin experimenting with them immediately in your own life, starting small and simple, gradually building your confidence and skill through consistent practice and application. Remember that becoming a master of these laws is not about perfection or never making mistakes. It's about developing ever greater awareness of how these principles are operating in your life and ever greater skill at consciously working with them to create the experiences you truly desire. May these eternal truths serve you well on your journey of awakening. May they help you remember the magnificent divine being that you truly are, and may your life become a living demonstration of consciousness expressing its unlimited creative potential through the beautiful vehicle of human existence.